Good morning, everybody. How we doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
Pretty good. It's only Wednesday. We still got, what, another day? 2 days?
Yeah, this week went by really fast, though.
Yeah, that's good. Let's get our cameras turned on. See your beautiful faces. Give it a few more minutes. Make sure everybody's able to get in. So any pressing issues, questions? Meaning of life? Just ask me, I'll tell you.
Well, what is the meaning of life?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask somebody else. Meaning of life is different for everybody. Give it a few more minutes. Still got a few students that are straggling along here. So questions about the final group project? I've met with everybody so far. I have another meeting with group 5 today after class. I think,
Professor, it's on Friday.
what's that?
It's on Friday for group
It's
5.
Friday.
Yeah.
You're right, it is. I have it right here written down, 11:20. Okay, I have group 7 today. I apologize. Group 7 right after class today. And so everybody has a general understanding of what they're going to do for the final project, right? Just shake your head. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go over a little bit more about that. And each week I will go over a little bit more about that too. Okay. So let's get our cameras turned on. See all those bed heads out there? All right. Let's see. Yes, I did post an example, Omar. I'll show you that a little bit later. The mini case for Samsung and the topic, but the question is about Philips company. Yes, Philips company is part of that that whole case study. So it goes from Philips to Panasonic to Samsung.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. So that's in the back of your book. So if you have any questions about that, feel free. No discussion this week. So I'm going to give you an extra special one next week. How's that? All right. Actually, let's go to here first. Okay, so under the iLearn, under group projects, this is for you. I did a little thing on consulting tips. What is a value chain, which you all should know by now. An example of a consulting report, which is a 75-page report. Do not emulate that. Use that as a guideline. In the back of it, there are actually slides from a slide presentation. Since you guys are not doing a presentation, I don't want you to pretend that you are. For some reason, when I do this, at least one group does that. I don't know why. And then executive summary, we're going to go over more of that today in class. Okay, so you all know where that's located at in your iLearn under materials. Okay. All that great information for you. Yes, the discussion board, Jacqueline. We will not be doing anything on the discussion board this week. Next week we will. Okay. Other questions? No? Okay. Shall we get into it? All right, so week 7, we'll do a little bit of chapter 9 review that we talked about yesterday, and then I'm going to explain to you writing an executive summary, what I expect out of an executive summary. Chapter 10, innovative strategy, that innovative company called Blockbuster. You guys have all heard about that one. Samsung mini case study is due on Friday, and then no discussion session this week in your discussion part. All right. Let's start off with a review, shall we? So we talked about our SWOT and our PESTEL. Remember, the opportunities, external opportunities and threats are external, and that is where you bring in your PESTEL, your political, economical, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental. All right, and especially this comes in, especially when you're doing global type studies. We talked about that earlier. And then we talked about the 60 dimensions model with our buddy here, Gert Hofstede. And what we did is the management perspective to deepen knowledge and applications for understanding cultures in business. I used my example when I went to Turkey, and I used this model for opening up a remanufacturing plant in Turkey. I did a big, huge, long report on it. Real exciting stuff. Not really, but if you want to read it, just contact me. So we talked about power distance, individualism, masculinity, uncertainty, avoidance, pragmatism, and indulgence. Okay. So we found that, and then your book talked about the other D, the 4D, which is distances, cultural distance, administrative distance, geographic distance, and economic distance. Okay, so know all the differences between them. And then we talked about the purchasing power parity, an index created by economists as based on the theory of purchasing power, and how we related that to the burger of Big Mac economics when we talked about the Big Mac, how the Big Mac is almost in every single country in the world. So we use that. So economists use that as an index, and we spoke about that. And then we talked about arbitrage strategy takes advantage of a country comparative advantage, sources of low-cost labor or unique resources. How we talked about India and the Philippines, how the skilled labor can speak English, which makes it an ideal place to put call centers for the United States, and how they take advantage of that low-cost labor and that skilled worker set. Okay, and then finally, we talked about competing internationally, why if a company wanted to open up a branch office in Northern Europe, why they would go to Ireland because of the tax rate is 12.5 as opposed to France. That's almost 35% tax rate. So all of the taxes that you would pay for the whole global area or for the whole international area of Europe would be under the 12.5 as opposed to each individual country. Okay, any questions about the review for chapter 9? No. Okay. All right, so your final group project, we talked about the Cascade ceramics, which is in the syllabus, and everybody's had a meeting about it. And we've all talked about what products you're going to do. A few of you have needed some extra time, so that's fine. We're going to be meeting again. So you're going to come up with an idea and a product. But before you do that, well, we're not before, after actually the executive summary is going to be one of the last things you guys do. An executive summary is not just for this particular type of report, but you can also do it for a business report, all different types of reports when it comes to do with business. Basically, an executive summary is a summary that you're going to want to give to somebody who has a very short time to read something and you want to pitch a idea to them or a proposal to them. So most important, 2 to 3 pages of your is going to be of your report. Everybody, if you don't know what an elevator pitch is, a pitch is basically an elevator pitch is basically you get into an elevator, you get until about 30 seconds to tell somebody what you want to tell them before they get off the elevator. That's why they call it an elevator pitch, because you only have them for a short period. Okay, so executive summary is going to sell your plan, what you want to do, grab the reader's attention, and pretty much all in 2 to 3 pages, you want to tell the person what's going on. Is an executive summary necessary? What do you think, Maribel? Absolutely. Executive summary is very necessary. Okay. Most executives will only read the executive summary. When somebody presents something to me in the business world and I'm reading it, my attention span is very, very, very short, as most executives' attention spans tend to be because they're doing a million different things. So they're going to look at it, and quite frankly, if you don't capture their attention in the first paragraph, they're probably not going to pay too much attention to it. So make sure it pops. Make sure it tells you exactly what the reader wants to know right away. Don't waste the reader's time. Now, being a professor, I'm going to have to read all of your papers, so I don't have that option of throwing it away, looking at it, going, "This is a horrible idea," and throwing it away. I actually have to read them all, which is a good thing for you. Okay, so write an executive summary, no more than 2 and 3 pages. At least one, no more than 5. Keep it as short as possible while giving all the proper information needed. Okay, so make sure you get all the information you needed. If it goes over 5 pages, you're doing it wrong. All right. So the 6 easy steps for building your executive summary: description of your product or service, who your target market's going to be, who the competition, a financial overview, your team, and why you have the expertise that you're giving the information to, and the funding. Okay, so description of your product. What is the best choice? For example, when you guys are picking out your products, you're going to try and convince me why I should go with your product, why you think this is the best choice for my company. Okay, so you're going to address the immediate problem of what is the problem of this assignment is to generate a revenue stream immediately. Okay, opportunities created. You're going to look at what opportunities you can create. Okay, your target, who do you think your customers will be, or who are our customers going to be? Why are we going to target them? You're going to dissect the market and show me exactly what you mean by this. Define what your product means to our customers or to the new customers. Okay, so you're going to describe your competition. How do you compare? How are we going to compare to the competition? How are we going to beat them? What are we going to do with price, quality, our differentiation? What is going to be our competing strategy? And then a financial overview. What is this going to cost? How much are we going to make? Basically, I want to know how much money I'm going to get in my first year on this return on investment. Okay, a forecast, future profits, losses, hopefully no losses. Okay, your team. Why are you the experts? Who in your team is the expert at which specific subject, or what do they bring to the party? Who and what is behind the business idea? Where'd you come up with this idea? How'd you come up with this idea? Why do you think it's such a great idea? For example, Maribel, we did extensive research in this industry. This is why we think this is going to work for you. So this is our idea, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and funding. According to the parameters that I laid out in the syllabus, there's not going to be much for funding. We can get a little bit of money from the parent company, but this can apply in general to funding as for a bank loan or convincing the parent company to get more money out of them, or working a financial funding deal with a vendor or the customer. So for example, we use the Kyocera knives. Kyocera approached us, said, "Hey, you can make our knives for us. We'll give you, we want to contract out for 1 million knives. We'll give you half up front, half when you deliver." So that would cover the costs of certain funding that we need to do this project. Okay. So the summary of the executive summary is, think of your executive summary as a pitch. Write it last. So obviously it's going to be first in your report, but you're not going to be able to write it until you actually write your report and you know exactly what you're going to do. Keep your executive summary short. Keep it simple. Prioritize sections based on importance and strengths, and use it for your summary at the end of the report. All right. So any questions about executive summary? Yes, no, maybe? No, there's not going to be any discussions for the end of the week. That is done on Mondays and on Friday. But Monday, this weekend, I'll post a new one for next week. Do you have to introduce yourselves in the executive summary? No, but in the report itself, it would probably be a good idea to say who your team is, not in the executive summary. Remember, I just said the executive summary, keep it as short as possible. The executive who's reading it probably doesn't care who the team is until later. So that particular part, so that would probably be not a great thing, but you can do that. But definitely, most definitely include your team and everything you contributed into your report and introduce your team. Okay, but that's just a small synopsis. I mean, really quick. All right, other questions? No? Okay, so we will go back to where we were. All right, so chapter 10, innovative strategy. Obviously, Blockbuster did not have the innovative strategy because there's one left in Bend, Oregon. I've been there. I've actually rented a movie from there many years ago, but they are the only Blockbuster left in the United States. Okay, so this chapter is all about innovative strategy. Obviously, Blockbuster didn't do what Netflix did to survive. 23andMe is another company, Tesla, and Uber. So Uber not only is an innovative strategy, they had a disruptive strategy, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so let's give a shout out. What do you think is a innovative company out there? Go ahead, Maribel, what do you think?
I mean, I love coffee, so I've mentioned this company before, Nespresso. I feel like it's very innovative. I usually order my coffee online. I can order it today, and they have my shipment by tomorrow morning at my doorstep. So, and they have a lot of sustainability in place into their business strategy. So I really believe that they're an innovative company.
Okay, Nespresso.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a good one.
Nespresso.
I think they're owned by, are they owned by
Nestle.
Nestle?
Mm.
Okay, or Unilever. Okay, yeah, I know they're under one of those. Okay, who else?
This is not really a consumer company, but SpaceX is really innovative.
SpaceX, that's Tesla companies, right?
Mhm.
Or Elon Musk company.
Elon Musk. Yeah.
Yep, they're pretty innovative. What else we got?
Franklin Armory.
Franklin Armory, why are they so innovative?
So from my personal experience, at least in California, we have really, really strict firearm laws. And so instead of just like slapping on simple plastic grips or something, they actually make AR pistols and firearms from the ground up for our laws.
Okay,
But they introduced like the first California legal AR pistols.
okay. Who else has an innovative company?
Apple.
Apple. It's about time somebody mentioned Apple. I thought that would be mentioned right away. What's so innovative about Apple? What is Apple known for?
Their phones.
Their phones, right? So what about their computers? Yeah, all the stuff they bought from Xerox 30 years ago to make the first PC. So Apple's very innovative when it comes to taking over buying companies and buying their technologies and incorporating them into what they're doing. They're very innovative about that. How about Alibaba?
Amazon.
Yes, Amazon's there somewhere. Amazon, yes. IBM, International Business Machines, we talked about them at the beginning of the class. For 100 years, they've been innovative. From the beginning of the Nazi Germany all the way to today, they've been innovative. HP is always inventing. They're innovative. 3M, which is a mining company. It started out as a mining company, but now is known for much, much more. Okay, so the innovative companies, I got this off of Forbes, I believe it was. So these are the top innovative, most innovative companies. And as you can see, they really don't change that much. There's some of the same companies: Amazon, Samsung, Facebook, Netflix, HP, eBay, Johnson & Johnson, Oracle.
Professor, what's your opinion on Amazon going into the pharmaceutical industry?
Good for consumers, bad for pharmaceutical companies, because they're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on them, like Walmart does on their vendors. Amazon has a very big platform that people are going to want to buy off of. So I think that's going to probably, my opinion, I think that's going to be a very disruptive force in the pharmaceutical industry. But as a consumer, I think anything that we can do to get the prices down is good. What do you think, Carlos?
I don't know. I just found out this morning.
You just found out this morning. It was all on the news yesterday. But they did the same thing in the grocery industry. Remember when they bought out, was it?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yes. So it hasn't become a disruptive force yet. And I think it's going to be a long time before it does. But definitely remember how we talked about many of these companies, when they see one of their competitors doing something, they'll start doing it too. So Amazon, Amazon's going to get into the pharmaceuticals. I'm sure it's not going to be too long before Walmart does. And Walmart already has the brick and mortar structures to support that, and the distribution center to support that, as does Amazon. But I think that's will probably be the next mover doing this into Walmart, which they already have a big presence in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. Anybody else want to comment about that? Okay. So as you can see, there's not much movement. It's pretty much the same. Every once in a while, you get to see a new one on there. So innovation, the conversion of a novel concept and invention into a product, process, or business model that generates revenue and profits. A radical innovation, like what we saw with Uber and Lyft, what they did with the taxi cab service. Innovation that draws on a different knowledge base, technologies, or methods to deliver value in a unique way, which they did with the app. So, you didn't have a taxi cab app before. You never had anything of that nature. You had to actually call somebody and have them tell them where you were and come and pick you up. With the innovation that Uber and Lyft did, everything's done off of an app, off of a mobile platform. So that totally disrupted the way they did that. So that was a radical innovation. And an innovative strategy is strategy that introduce a fundamentally different business model than rivals. Okay, so a innovative strategy would be like Blue Ocean, which we will talk about a little bit later. So what does innovation look like? Useful, implemented, a novel idea. When it all merges together in a Venn diagram, it looks a little bit like this. Okay, so understanding business models, there are 9 different things that I want you to understand. The value propositions, customer segments, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams, key resources, key activities, capabilities, key partnerships, and the cost structure, okay? So the value proposition, a firm seeks to solve customer problems and satisfies needs with particular unique value or value proposition. A value proposition refers to the value a company promises to deliver to a customer should they choose to buy their products. So when you have the brand, the product, and the experience, the value proposition meets all of those needs. What would be an example of something like that, a value proposition? Remember we talked about the In-N-Out milkshake, how sometimes it's not just a milkshake, it meets all of our expectations and then some. So when you know you're going to go to In-N-Out, you're going to get the best value, you're going to get the best product, and it's going to meet all of your expectations, right? If you like milkshakes. If you don't, then you're out of luck. Okay, so customer savings, the value propositions are designed to meet the needs of one or several customer segments. Practice of dividing a customer base into groups of individuals that are similar in specific ways relative to marketing such as age, gender, interests, and spending habits. A few chapters we went over this in more in depth, but that is your customer segments as part of the understanding the business model. Okay. So the channels, value propositions are delivered to customer segments through communication, distribution, or sales channels. Now we have many different types of distributions, including direct to the customer, through the internet, through distribution channels, or wholesalers, retailers. All right, a critical element of the business model, they are how a company communicates with and reaches out to the customer segments. Channels are typically directed or indirect as 5 phases: awareness, evaluation, purchase, delivery, and after sales. Okay, so for example, we use Xerox as an example when they're trying to go business to business, and then they have business to consumer and business to government. And now a lot of times Xerox has many different channels, not just those, but then they have channels within the within those through the different distribution, how they do with distribution. Okay, so the same distribution code can go to business, or it can go directly to the consumers or to the government. So customer relationships are established and maintained with each customer segment, aims to create a mutually beneficial relationship with the customer that extends beyond the initial purchase. Customer relation is presented in all aspects of business, but most prevalent in the customer service department. So this is the customer service department is usually the most difficult one to do, especially after the sale. And then building a customer relationship, it takes a lot of time, money, and a lot of effort on the part of the business. I don't know if you guys are noticing, but because of this COVID, customer service seems to be going downhill in many, many ways. Okay. All right, so revenue streams, and this is what's important to your final project and what we talked about and what we've been talking about. Results from value propositions that are successfully offered to customers through pricing strategies. A revenue stream is generally made up of either recurring revenues, transaction-based revenues, project revenues, or service revenues. And then sometimes all of these are created revenues for your revenue stream. Okay, so in your final project, what we ask is, what product are you going to come up with that's going to generate a revenue stream for our current company that we're doing and for the current product that we're selling? So, like I used the ceramic knives for many examples for your groups. So since we are using molds to make turbine blades, we can use the molds to make the knives, which are very similar. So there's no retooling of the machines. All we do is change out the molds, and then we make the knives and we sell them. So at first we can sell them to a company called Caracera, who's asking us to do that, or then we go into a medium-sized or medium-term solution where we create our own marketing, create our own revenue stream, and all that other good stuff. So that's how that generates to that. Okay, so who pays? Revenue stream, who pays the customer segments? Are we targeting business to business? Are we targeting business to consumers? For example, on the knife example, in the beginning, when we're making knives for Kyocera, that would be business to business. If we decided to sell them on the internet directly, that would be business to consumer, B2C. And then government really probably wouldn't pay too much of a plan into our selling, so we probably wouldn't go into the government. However, there are government bids, and they do buy knives, so that's not something that's totally out of the question. Okay, so offering the item, do we offer the service, the product? How are we going to offer after the sale is done? What's our customer service going to be like? So basis for payment, how are we going to take payment? And then method of capturing income, money flow, and structure, intervals, variability of amount. Okay, so all of those are in your revenue stream, understanding the business model. So key activities and capabilities, value propositions are developed and delivered through key activities or capabilities. So since we have that key capability of putting ceramics into molds, making a turbine blade as opposed to making a knife blade is pretty much the same thing almost. Key activities are any activities that your business is engaged in for the primary purpose of making a profit. Business activities include operations, marketing, productions, problem solving, and administrative. Okay. Administration. So your key activities, your scope, your organization, and your resources. And when you put them all together in your Venn diagram and when they all intersect, that's when you get your competitive advantage. And that's when you can have your competitive advantage over your competitors in your industry or in the new industry that you're looking to go into. All right, so I briefly talked about key partnerships. We've talked more about those in the other chapters. But for example, the Kyocera said, hey, we want a key partnership with you. We want you to make 1 million knives for us. So that would be an example of getting together with a partnership outside of the company. Okay, the cost structure, the business model elements above result in the cost structure for delivering the value proposition to the customers. These costs must be covered by the revenue stream in order to firm to the profitability. Refers to the types of relative proportions of fixed and variable costs that a business incurs. Okay, so you always have to keep aware of what your costs are going to be. For the example of the ceramics company, we already have all the major costs: labor, human capital. We have the equipment. We already have that and already paid for, already done, and then the materials, okay, which we're already currently buying. All we need to do is buy more. All right. So, for example, we've talked about value chains, and this is Barnes & Noble versus Amazon. How innovative what Amazon did to Barnes & Noble. Still, many people feel when they go buy a book, they want to have it physically in their hands. So this is one of the reasons why Barnes & Noble is still available. After the pandemic, I don't know, it might not survive. But Amazon cut out the distributor and went directly to the customer. And then now the authors are even cutting out Amazon and going directly to the internet to the consumers. So because you can see, even Amazon is not safe from innovation and change. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about blue ocean strategy. Not my favorite strategy. I used to play a game. I get about a dozen marketing calls a month, and I would always ask them, if you can tell me what blue ocean strategy is, I will give you my business. So 9 out of 10 marketers out of the last 5 years have not known what blue ocean strategy is. It's kind of a fairly relatively new concept, but basically what it is reinventing your product to make it market to other segments or to people who are not your customers. This innovative position within the wine industry is perfectly reflected through the 4 Ps of product, price, promotion, and place. So Yellowtail, who makes a wine, abandoned their traditional focus on prestigious vineyards and aging. In this type of industry, it's the more accolades in the industry that you have, proving that you're a great wine, the better you're supposed to be able to do. More medals you win, the more awards that you get, makes your winery and your wine more prestigious, and supposedly it's supposed to sell better. So what Yellowtail did is they ditched the complex terminology found on the wine bottles. If you go to Europe, many it has to be labeled and certified with the region from which it comes from. Here in the United States, it's not like that. But they made it sweet enough for the masses. And what they happened is, you know, you got some guy who doesn't know anything about alcohol is going to a party. He said, what should I get? And Yellowtail made it very, very easy. You either get a red wine or you get a white wine, and you take it with you. And that's how they created how they created more customers that were not normally wine drinking customers. So they would capture, they moved the curve, they shifted out, so they gain a bigger customer base. They create new customers. Nintendo did the same thing with the Wii. You know, the Wii really didn't have any great games when it came out. You know, nobody wanted to. Yeah, Carlos shaking head. No, there's nothing. But it did have a little thing called bowling, which everybody found really, really kind of fun, and it had tennis, which was kind of fun. So all those people who are gamers who like to play all the you know, these games on the Xbox and on the Nintendo, or not the Nintendo, but the Xbox and the other one, the Sony, found that, you know, hey, we're doing the Wii, but we got completely different things. And then look, my grandma can play with me. She can play tennis. She can do bowling. So what they did is they expanded to non-gamers, the elderly parents with young children. You know, I still find those controls confusing when I'm playing with my kids, when I'm playing games. So, you know, they made it very easy for everybody to use, and they expanded upon how the customers use it. So you get a whole bigger customer base. All right, Circus Soleil, been around since the 80s. They've entertained 155 million people over 300 cities. The biggest thing with them, the customer or the circuses, what they always kind of did traditionally was have animal acts, and acts that were kind of like awestruck, you know, like how people would look at these kind of things. But Cirque du Soleil said, no, we're going to do things a little bit different. You know, the animals, they were a huge cost, so we're going to get rid of them, and we're just going to have human animals, and we're going to have them do tricks, and we're going to do live stories and live music and storylines. And so they came up with a very good plan and said, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it was very successful. They have I don't know if they still have it, but at SeaWorld, they have a Cirque du Soleil. All right, questions about chapter 10? All right. You guys still awake? Yeah, no, maybe, okay. All right, so let's continue on. All right, so the Samsung case is due on Friday. No class the 25th and 27th, Thanksgiving break. The Wells Fargo case will be canceled. I'm not going to do that one. And then make sure all the groups email me. So if you want another meeting, I have a couple of them. I have a couple of groups that are going to do second meetings and whatnot. Okay. Next week and Friday, we're going to do a project, a little mini project called Thumbtack, which is a company. And all of the things that we just talked about, value propositions, customer segments, channels, customer relationship, revenue streams, key resources, all of these, we're going to incorporate into Thumbtack. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you, instead of breaking out into groups and doing it on the shared document, because that doesn't work so well with so many people doing it. We tried that and it hasn't worked that well. I'm going to make this not during class, so I'm going to kind of set it up during class on Friday and then have you work on it and then turn in the paper, a shared document that we're all going to turn in there, your segments all on Friday afternoon on that. Okay. And then I'll go a little bit more over that on Friday. So questions, concerns, anything else you got going on today?